Welcome to the Gifts for Glory podcast, where we celebrate and promote men and women using their gifts for God's glory. Know someone who is making an impact for God's kingdom using their gifts, talents, and passions? We'd love to meet them. Send us an email at podcast@giftsforglory.com. That's podcast@gifts4glory.com. And now here is our host, Dave Ebert.
Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome to the latest edition of the Gifts for Glory podcast. Whether you're watching live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, or you're watching on the Creative Motion Network, or listening on podcast platforms around the world, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're really excited to have you. Really excited to have our guests. It's going to be a really fun conversation. For those of you watching live, I invite you to go ahead and leave comments, questions, anything that you want in the comments on the feed, and I would love to feature some of those as well. Also, a big shout out and a thank you to Felicity Joy for being our Patreon supporter of the month and making sure that we can keep this podcast on the air, or, well, it's not on the air, it's online. But I want to thank Felicity for supporting us and helping us keep going through Patreon. So let's get into our Devotions with Dave segment to get us started. Each week we do a scripture, and we want to talk a little bit about it. I want to encourage you that, I might get things wrong as I'm reading scripture. I invite you to dive in for yourself, see what God reveals to you about each passage that I share. And tonight we want to read from coming from 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 through 12. Normally we pick one verse, but I wanted to go with this passage because it really spoke to me last night when I was having some prayer time last night. So 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 through 12. Finally, all of you should be of one mind, sympathize with each other, love each other as brothers and sisters, be tender-hearted, and keep a humble attitude. Don't repay evil for evil. Don't retaliate with insults when people insult you. Instead, pay them back with a blessing. That is what God has called you to do, and he will grant you his blessing. For the scriptures say, if you want to enjoy life and see many happy days, keep your tongue from speaking evil and your lips from telling lies. Turn away from evil and do good. Search for peace and work to maintain it. The eyes of the Lord watch over those who do right, and his ears are open to their prayers. But the Lord turns his face against those who do evil. So that's, again, 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 through 12. And it's just a reminder that we're called to live set apart. We're called to be different. We're called to live differently. It's very easy to get angry and retaliate. It's very easy to take an offense and find a reason to react to it. But you look at the life of Jesus, he did not react. He didn't respond in kind to evil insults or slurs or the things that he dealt with. Instead, he responded in love and grace and in blessing. And that's our relationship with God, is the things that we do, the sins, the mistakes, the things that we do wrong that are against his will and against his character. He still responds to us in blessing. And if we want to live like Christ, we have to find a way to rise above those challenges and still give blessings instead of curses, to act out of love and concern for the spiritual well-being of those we're in contact with, instead of trying to prove that we're right. It's more important to be righteous than to be right. So I just want to encourage you, dive into the scripture and remind yourself that we are called to live set apart. We are called to live differently, and not to get angry and not to retaliate, but to live in grace and love and to model the life of Christ. So that is our Devotions with Dave segment, coming again from 1 Peter chapter 3. So as you see in the background, we have a live studio guest. Our cat Trooper has decided that he wanted to join us just for a moment. So a special bonus for those of you watching at home. But before we get to our guest, which I'm really excited to bring on, Venus Monique, she's the star, or one of the amazing stars of Vindication Season 2, is coming out later this year. If you haven't heard of Vindication, haven't seen it, I want to share with you this trailer from Season 1, so be sure to catch up on it. It's available on Redeem TV and also on PureFlix. So here is the trailer to Season 1, and we'll be back in just a moment with Venus Monique from
This is the second homicide we've had in 14 months.
Are we sure this is a homicide?
My understanding is that there is a concern for safety in the neighborhood, and we're here to help out in any way we can.
The East Bank community remains on edge after the grisly discovery of 2 bodies.
It's an embarrassment. That's what it is. I know you don't have any leads.
What am I looking at?
Has Dad said anything about what's going on at work?
This is off the record. That means you don't talk about it. Okay? You heard from him? Has he tried to reach out to you at all?
Just stop it! Stop being a cop for just 1 minute!
I can't! Guys, move!
Hey, you can't take my phone!
Watch me!
You have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
Do you even want to catch the guy?
I don't understand. It's just unusual.
Maybe God is trying to tell you something.
How do I make it stop?
Please! Hands where I can see him!
So powerful stuff. Vindication Season 1 is out. You can find it on PureFlix and also on Redeem TV. Season 2 is coming out later this year. I do know that the trailer should be coming out this summer for Season 2. So enough for me. Let's please welcome our guest of this time. I'm talking about Venus Monique. She's an actress. She's also an advocate. She is the owner of Personal Powerhouse, which you're going to want to check out, especially if you have young adults in your life that maybe didn't learn all the things that we used to learn in public school. So be sure to check out Personal Powerhouse. We'll talk about that. As I mentioned, she is a gifted actress. She's up for the ICFF Actress of the Year. And you can follow her at Venus Monique Official and also at Personal Powerhouse. And also be sure to follow at Vindication Film for more on Season 2. So please at this time join me in welcoming Venus Monique to the Gifts for Glory podcast. Venus, welcome.
Hi. Gosh, I feel like it got so much darker since a while ago. So sorry if y'all can't see me. I'll try.
Oh, you look, from my end, it looks great.
Good. Okay.
Things look good.
I won't worry about it.
So how are things in Texas? You guys just wrapped Season 2 shooting.
We did. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I don't want to be wrapped ever. I don't even like being wrapped per episode. So wrapping the season is not exciting for me, other than getting to watch it soon. But yeah, Texas is great. Texas is awesome. So
you guys shot this spring, so you beat the summer heat, which is always a blessing.
Yeah.
So tell us, before we really get into Vindication, I wanted to hear more about Personal Powerhouse, which I think that it's such a gift for young adults because there's so many things that we don't learn anymore. There are things I've seen because you're on the Creative Motion Network with many episodes. Tell us about Personal Powerhouse, where it started, and what kind of inspired you to do it.
Well, it started with me and my own frustrations because as I was getting into adulthood, I was realizing the things that I wasn't taught, and not because my parents didn't want to teach me, but because things were apparently common sense. But I'm like, no, they're not common sense if you've never been taught. Like, I didn't know, how to change my own air filter in the house or just simple things. And so I thought, well, I want to make sure that my nephews and my nieces know this stuff. So I'll have like a little session and I'll teach them and give them some, basic information. And then I was like, I guess God just kept growing the idea. And I was like, you know what? I should invite their friends because their friends probably don't know. And then it kept growing. Hi, Steve. And then, so then I had this whole presentation laid out, and not only did I want to teach them basic life skills, like common sense things, but there was another component to it where, again, from my own experience, just kind of dealing with inappropriate comments from adults or people or whatever. And even though inside I didn't like it, I didn't have the words to say. Nobody gave me the words to say. I didn't have the confidence to say these things. So I was like, I want to equip young adults to not have to go through what I went through. And so in all this mind stuff that's going on, God woke me up at 4 a.m. because I couldn't figure out how to package it in one deal. And it was 4 a.m. and I just woke up with Personal Powerhouse. And I was like, holy cow, that's really good. I'm sure that's already taken though. So, whatever. But if I remember this in the morning and all the stuff is available, I'll know that it's from God. And so everything, all the social media, the website was available. And so I just started like planning and got the LLC and the domain name and everything. And so it's just slowly I'm just kind of like letting God tell me how to suss it out and make it all happen. But yeah, so right now I've got a life skills mini course in the sisterhood, which is only for girls, but the life skills mini course is for guys and girls. So
perfect. Tell us about the sisterhood, because I know that's relatively new, and you've had some pretty powerful people joining as part of the sisterhood.
Yes. Okay. I love the sisterhood because that's kind of like, I didn't have an older sister and I didn't really have a mentor. And so, but I feel like when you have mentors, it's just so much better. Like, it's just good for your future. And so I wanted to create a place, like a safer place where we could talk about inappropriate comments or girl stuff or this or that. So I asked some of my acting friends and to be the mentors. And so I've got Julie Crisanti, Leanne Johnson, Sharon Lanier, Maggie Jenny, Stephanie Parker, Stephanie Half, and Jeannie Garcia. So they said yes. Oh yeah. So Kevin Collier, he would tell me, I forgot which one he watched, but he was like, I'm this many years old and I just learned how to do whatever it was after watching. So thank you, Kevin. I love that adults are learning. You wouldn't believe how many adults I have tell me like, oh, I didn't even know I could do that. Or I didn't know how to do that until I watched, your stuff. So I'm like, okay, there is a need for this. So anyway, with the sisterhood, I've got the amazing mentors, and then I've had some amazing women come in and be guest speakers to the young girls that are in there. So they pay a monthly fee to be in the membership and hear from these guest speakers. And then we have casual chats where we just hang out and we talk about whatever comes up and get to know each other on a deeper level. And those calls aren't recorded. So it's kind of like we just talk about anything, knowing that it's kind of like when you go to someone's house and you hang out and have a conversation. If you weren't there, you'll never know what the conversation was about. And so I love that because that's where I get to connect more with the girls. And so the sisterhood's been super fun. And eventually I want to do a brotherhood too, because I know so many great men that I would love to have pour into younger men's lives.
Yeah.
So, but I'm like one step at a time.
And I think that with, the COVID, the pandemic, everyone locked away in their homes for so long, I think that as much as we can connect virtually like that and do these discipleship things, Personal Powerhouse is more about practical, but because of your strong faith, there's obviously a motivation behind it. I'm guessing that it's not strictly a faith thing, but it's more practical, or is it also sisterhood in Christ?
Yeah. So on the sisterhood, when they fill out the application, I do have a part in there that says, just so you know, this is a faith-based company. So there are going to be Christian elements. We have Christian values, and it's going to be in our content unapologetically. So if that's cool with you, jump in. If not, that's okay. But know that Jesus is the forefront and the filter through which we do everything. So they have a choice. Perfect. But yeah.
Right, awesome. So we have the information there at Personal Powerhouse is on Facebook, and I think also on Instagram is the same handle. And then everything else you can find at personalpowerhouse.com. And it's really exciting because like Kevin commented, there's things that adults don't know, because this is stuff that you would learn like in shop class or these different, home ec even in high school that are no longer a part of school because they're just getting you ready for college. And then in college, they're almost expecting you to know stuff that they didn't teach you in high school getting ready for college.
Yes. And not only that, not only home ec stuff, but also independent living stuff. Like, how do I apply for an apartment? How do I get car insurance? What is renter's insurance? So all of that stuff is in the mini course. Some of it is on the YouTube channel and I'm not even done. Like, I still have so many more subjects or topics that I want to present. It's a little difficult doing it on your own. So there's been like a little delay, but there's so many things that even as I keep aging, I'm like, oh gosh, I need to share this. Oh gosh, I went through a hellstorm. What do you do when you go through a hellstorm? What do you do when you get in a wreck? What do you do? All these things that you just don't know until you're actually in it. And then you have to learn the hard way, or you have to pay extra money because you didn't know that you could do this for $50 rather than that for $300. So all kinds of stuff.
And also you kind of brought up something, having the knowledge is also going to help you prevent being taken advantage of. when you pay professionals, you're going to pay more than if you do it yourself, obviously. But unfortunately, there are people out there like, oh, you don't know what this is. Well, let me show you, and they'll try to milk it a little bit.
Yes.
They'll try to sell you a gallon of blinker fluid or something like that.
Right?
But,
yeah. And that's those are the embarrassing moments that I don't want people to go through, because I saw a video of this guy and girl in the car. It was like boyfriend, girlfriend, and he was filming her, and he was like, hey, go in there. It was like O'Reilly's or something. Go in there and ask him for blinker fluid because my left blinker's out. She's like, I don't want to do that. And he's like, just go in there and ask. So she gets out of the car and she goes and asks for blinker fluid and then comes back. And of course she feels embarrassed. And I'm just like, that's so rude. Like, I hate that people have to feel that way to learn a lesson. Like, I'd rather you know this stuff so you don't have to go through that. Because I've gone through those times, maybe not that embarrassing, but it's like, this was so simple. And now I've, either I feel dumb or people have made me feel dumb because I didn't know this. And I'm just like, how can you make someone feel dumb when they've never been presented this information before? That's really rude. So
how many of these topics do you come up with that you already knew? And then how many of them are things that you had to learn in order to make the lesson on it?
So the lesson I can tell you is 3 phases with 3 topics inside each of them. Although like 3 videos inside each of them that cover different topics. And then there's like a bonus session where you can get 3 more topics basically. But as far as what I knew, I haven't really done the math, because as I keep learning things, I keep writing them down. And I have like pages of content in like a little binder thing, and I have it categorized by kitchen stuff you need to know, and grocery shopping and laundry stuff and college stuff and travel stuff. Like, how do you go get your boarding pass at the airport? Oh, I didn't know I needed my this, that, and the other. Or, just like simple stuff we do every day, but nobody tells you how to do it. You just have to learn as a fly.
Has there been a moment where you've had to educate your husband on one of these things?
Oh my gosh, my husband like knows everything, so no. In fact, I'm like, wait, love, is it this or is it that? Because if I'm going to be teaching this, I need to know. No, he's so smart. Yeah. So no, I don't have to teach him.
So let's transition. Let's talk about acting. You left home to come to Texas to pursue acting.
I actually grew up in Texas.
Oh, you grew up in Texas.
Yeah, okay. But then I moved to Austin to do Texas. There's a fly and it's distracting me. I left college. I went to Austin to go get more serious, because I was like, that's where the opportunities, the agents, this. So if I'm really going to do it, then I need to go somewhere where it's happening.
How long have you been doing acting and being in front of people?
I kind of count 2010 as my start day, because that's when I moved to Austin. Okay. But I did do it before then. I did some, I was an extra in a couple of feature films, and then I did some stage stuff in college. And then even in high school, I had an acting agent, and I did the classes and all of that. But in high school, I hated it. I never, ever planned on doing acting after that, because it was terrible. I didn't want to do it. And so I guess since high school really, but I count 2010 as when it became legit and I was actually pursuing it.
Because you have a degree in kinesiology and you did physical therapy. Have you walked away from physical therapy, or are you still doing that as a side while you pursue acting? How is that all working together?
No, and it was never something I wanted to do. I just got my kinesiology degree because that's what I knew. I grew up doing sports in a small town, and then I did sports in my college town. And I was like, okay, I guess I could be a coach or do physical. I didn't know what my options were. Another reason I wanted to do Powerhouse. Mm-hmm. So no, that was just pretty much a job, and I got the job because I had the degree. So I didn't really walk away from it. It was just a placeholder, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you get to Austin, you're starting to dive in and pursue acting. What was your first big role once you moved out there?
I would say my first big role wasn't even an acting role. It was a stand-in role. Do you know what a stand-in is?
Yeah, basically while they're setting up the shot for the big actor, while they're in their trailer, eating their brown M&Ms.
Yeah, and so the stand-in is there to get setting up the shot, the lights, the sound, all of that. And I have neighbors, and I think she's hanging something on the wall. Oh. I was a stand-in on an ABC family show. It's called The Lion Game, and I was on that for a full season and a half. So I got totally immersed in the legit projects, not like the independent stuff, but like the big film world and what that looks like and who does what and what all the departments are for and everything from that. And I know that was God teaching me, because I like to know things fully. And so being a stand-in, I got to see things operate from the inside out. Whereas if I came in as an actor, I would go in, I'd do my lines, I'd see the departments do their thing and then leave. But as a stand-in, being there 12 to 14 hours a day for an entire year and a half, I learned so much, and that I would never learn just being an actor. So that was my the first big thing that I did, and I'm so thankful for it.
It's awesome how God will put you in places. Here it's a little hammer time. That's all right. The beauty of live broadcasting. You never know what's gonna happen. No. You'll probably see my cat jump in every once in a while, like he did earlier during the devotion segment.
Cute.
All right, so you do some stand-in work, and obviously on ABC, the Lion Game, that wasn't faith-based, obviously. Was there a time where you're like, okay, I'm going to get away from this and focus on faith, or are you kind of just filtering by what, by a certain set of standards?
I kind of knew, I guess, like, to me, this is going to sound really weird, but I don't just love acting. Like I have a purpose for it. Like, and I want what I do to be useful. And so for the projects that I do, I want them to have some sort of positive quality, a redeeming quality, something that focuses on Jesus or makes you want to be a better person, or just something useful. Not like, oh, I just love acting and I want to take every project so I can do acting. So no, I already forgot the question. What's the question?
Basically, do you pursue strictly faith-based, or is it just anything that fits kind of a certain standard for you?
Yeah, I'd say it more fits the standard, because I'm open to doing a lot of stuff. But yeah, I'm not just like, oh, I'll only do faith-based stories. It's just got to have a good quality and, be something that I would want to watch too, because I don't want to watch dirty stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So you did a short film with Jarod O'Flaherty, the director of Vindication. It's called Morning Rift. I believe it's available on Creative Motion Network. I believe that's where I saw it. Which, as a man that's married, I can completely relate to the twist at the end. I'm not going to give it away, but
don't spoil it. Yeah.
But it's a fun short film. And how did you connect with Jarod and get involved with that product?
I used to work at the Attic Film Fest in Austin, which is a faith-based film festival. And Jarod was screening episode 1 of Vindication there. And I really don't know how he found my acting videos, because for a while I had acting adventures on YouTube, and I was kind of like recording all of my auditions and posting them and stuff. And so he had known about that. And he also knew that the previous year I won the Best Actress Award for a feature film called Genesis. And so by the time he got to the fest, he knew who I was. And then, of course, I was the MC. I was the host. So I interviewed all the directors and writers and everybody cast. And so afterwards, the Attic Film Fest is so great. They're real great at connecting everyone. And so I met Jarod there, and he was like, hey, I'm thinking of maybe expanding the series. If I did, would you want to be a detective in Vindication? And I was like, yeah. And so I don't remember how he pitched Morning Rift to me, but basically he asked me if I would want to do a short film and come do it. And it was like, we shot it in a day, and it was so hot, blazing hot, but I was just, happy to be on board. And I think if Jared's watching, he can confirm or deny this. I think it was kind of like my trial to see if he really wanted me to be on Vindication or not. And so, but it was a really great script, and I loved it.
It was a lot of fun. And the fact that it was so hot, it kind of made the setting perfect because of the way that the film goes. So I encourage anybody, subscribe to Creative Motion Network, look for Morning Rift. It's a lot of fun, and there's a very cool twist at the end that will be really funny. I'm not going to spoil it. No spoilers, because I don't want Jarod to get mad at me if he's still watching. But so you do the short film, and then you get involved in Vindication, which the first time I saw the pilot, it was the one with Ben Davies, who many people know from Courageous. And I thought it was just a short film. It was really well done, and really a very cool, almost like an M. Night Shyamalan twist to it, which every episode that's kind of the trademark of at least season one. So after you do the movie, what was the process in developing your character onto season one of Vindication, Detective Chris Tanner?
Well, you're right about it being a short film, because that was actually Jarod's original intention. And I think the Attic Film Fest was going to be their last festival before they were just like, okay, we're going back to our jobs. But it was so well received that it was like, we want more. So yeah, he did do, more episodes. But the process, well, I kind of feel like if I say how I came on board, then it kind of gives away the episodes leading up to me coming on board. So how do I say this? Detective Travis gets a partner. I don't know. I'll just say it because season one's been out. So Detective Travis needs a partner, and his boss was like, hey, I've got somebody for you, and Chris is going to be here on Monday, something. And Detective Travis doesn't want a partner. But this Chris guy, maybe he'll be all right. And then Chris shows up, and she's a girl. And so Travis is just deflated and not happy about it. And it's really funny.
Yeah. It's really cool because, like you said, they set it up very brilliantly that just assuming detective named Chris is going to be a guy, and he's assuming also that it's probably going to be more of a veteran, where you're very young, obviously compared to Todd's character, Todd Terry, the character who plays Detective Travis, and so it's like a double whammy for him. Somebody very young, somebody that's a woman, and it's also somebody that's a strong woman. And it's just really kind of cool because his character takes this arc where he's got three different worlds between your character, his wife, and his daughter. And all three are kind of like putting him in this ricochet thing where he grows in this one, it develops a relationship in this one. And it's just a fun story arc with your character and his throughout the season.
Yeah. And it's funny. I think it's interesting. I think audience members get something different than us as the cast because we're in it. And so when you view it as a whole, I think you're able to see something that we don't see. So that's really interesting.
And your character it's definitely, feminine. It's definitely a woman, but it's also a strong character. And I think that's one of the most fun things about it is that you're able to deliver that balance as Chris, that you're definitely, a young woman, but you're definitely a fierce police officer that's out to make the world better.
Yeah, and I can't take any credit for that because that's how it's written for me, and I love it. I love this character.
So, season 2 question: Does the geeky Superman kid from the tech, does he get a date or not, or can you spill that bean yet?
I mean, something does happen. Not super sure I can be specific as to what, but yeah, Kevin's still there, and Chris is there, and things happen.
All right. So we won't we tease it, but watch for the trailer this summer for Vindication. Be sure to check out all the social media for Vindication as well at Vindication Film on Facebook. It's at Vindication Film because the first episode with Ben Davies was initially a short film. Then it was so well done, it expanded into the series. So be sure to check that out. But we're here also to talk to Venus about her testimony, because that's what we do on Gifts for Glory, is we want to honor God by sharing the testimonies. The blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony is how we overcome. And so not Chris, because that's your character.
I'll answer.
So Venus, did you grow up in a Christian home, or how did you come to know Jesus as your Savior?
I mean, yeah, my mom, she kind of shifted, I think, in her young life. She shifted and became, I don't know when she became Christian, actually. So we did like Bible reading sometime, and we did the Lord's Prayer, but we weren't like pushed into the church, and we weren't in little groups, and we weren't doing all the church things. But I went to different churches, Catholic church and Baptist church. And it wasn't until I went to a non-denominational church that I just felt like, wow, like it was a totally different experience. And I remember being in the youth group on the first day. And I remember seeing everybody having so much fun and being such close friends. And I thought, like, in my mind, I kind of thought Christianity was boring and thought it's just a lot of rules and you can't do anything. But I thought, oh, they look so joyful. Like, I want to be a part of that group and having fun and making memories. And so that was the first time it really looked enticing to me. But backtracking, before I even saw that, I got saved in the Baptist church. I remember being in one of the back pews and they did the altar call. And I just kind of was like, I'm pretty sure I need to do this. And I went to the front and, did the prayer, got saved, everything. And then years later, I'm like, I don't know if I did that right. I should do this altar call too. And I'm going to do this altar call too, because I don't really know when I know. So anyway, I've been saved a few times. And so yeah, I didn't grow up in church, but I did grow up in a very positive home. Like, when I was thinking of this recently, like, what negative memories do I have of my parents? Zero. Not one. My parents are so encouraging and so helpful and never made me feel dumb, never talked down to us, never belittled us, never broke our spirit. And I think that's what a lot of people have experienced is someone's broken their spirit. Someone's crushed their little heart when they were younger. And when that comes from your parents, it hurts so bad. But I'm so grateful that I didn't go through that. So I think that's helped shape me too, not just being a Christian, but also the influence of my parents.
Was there a moment where you kind of had this breakthrough where you're like, yeah, I'm definitely following Christ now. This is for me. Or it seems like you kept going to the altar calls, but was there a moment where it was like, this is the last one, I'm actually saved?
I don't remember. I'm sure there was, but I don't think I declared it that way. But I do know I intentionally didn't get baptized for a long time, because every baptism I saw, I haven't seen one in a long time, but because I don't go to church that often, I'll just admit. So all the baptisms were like, it's a public profession of faith, and you're saying this to the congregation or whatever. And I thought, you know what? I'm pretty sure I'm going to mess up again. And I don't want to publicly declare that I'm following Christ when I know I'm going to mess up. I'm not ready to be baptized, which I don't think that's the way you're supposed to go. I don't know.
Right.
But there was a time when I was going to Stonegate in Midland, which is an amazing church. I loved it. And I felt like, you know what? I am committed. I'm finally committed, and I'm going to do this walk with God. And so I was like, okay, I feel good about being baptized. I feel like I'm not going to be not hypocritical, but just lying to the congregation, knowing myself and knowing that I'm still living this sinful life, which obviously everybody is, but knowing that I was going to backslide, I didn't want to do that prematurely. But then when it got to the point where I felt like my life is God, I want God to lead my life regardless of how it turns out, then I was like, okay, I'll be baptized. So, yeah.
Your parents, were they on board? How did they feel when you got baptized and you started taking those steps?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely on board. Totally. I don't know about how they felt. They were just there for me. They're just proud of me.
What's been the biggest challenge in your faith walk? Has there been a time where you felt like, wow, I've really backslidden, or has it been a relatively easy walk?
I would say not so much difficult, but I mean, backsliding, I still did. In college, I still lived the college life. And even though I was a Christian, I still was just in that whole college thing. And I think though the biggest challenge is probably, even though I feel like my faith is super duper strong, I'm still when God doesn't answer something that I've been pleading for forever, I'm like, Lord, and I was having this conversation with some girls at a Bible thing the other day, and I was like, Lord, I feel like you're being really rude. I am meeting you every morning. I'm asking you for the same thing. I'm not even asking for a lot. I'm just, asking that you'll speak this or, whatever, affirm this or whatever. And I just feel like you're straight up ignoring me, and it feels really rude. And I just want you to know that. So I'm like, I don't know. I know he can handle it, but I don't want to say I guess my faith has been tested in a way, but not really, because I know I fully trust him. I just, his timing is so different that it's yeah.
That's why he calls us his children. He's the Father, and he knows best. And sometimes he has three answers. Either it's a clear no, a clear yes, or a not yet.
Yeah.
And it's the not yet that drives us nuts, because it's like, is that a no or is that a not yet?
Yeah.
And the thing about following God and following Christ is, no matter how quote unquote saved you are, no matter how righteous you are, you look at the Bible and you see that the people that were the closest to Christ were also the ones more apt to fail. I mean, you had Peter, who within a matter of 6 hours, he went from willing to fight to the death for Jesus to completely denying him. You think about also Peter. 1 minute he's being told by Jesus, on this rock I'm going to build my church. And then a few verses later, Jesus is calling him Satan and telling him to get behind him.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot of, and that's the importance of Scripture, is just there's so much hope there to know that we don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I also think that's a verification that the Bible is real, because if the Bible was fake, they wouldn't have flawed people as our heroes, as our stalwarts. They would try to cover it up or gloss over it. But
that's a good point. You know, all these Cinderella stories.
Yeah. I mean, why would Jesus have had to have died if we made all this up? Because we're all good people and we can win. But we're all flawed. Even the person, that was a man after God's own heart, David, he was very flawed. His sins and his mistakes cost generations. So it's everybody's walk is different, and it's because that we're all weird individual children trying to figure things out.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And we all need our own personal powerhouse, whether it's for life skills or Jesus as our personal powerhouse coach. True
story.
All right. So as you are getting a little bit older, you start to really pursue acting, and you get to Austin, as we talked about. And then what are some of the other projects that maybe people have seen you in? Because you did Morning Rift, and you've also done Vindication, which is popular now. You brought up Genesis, which you did before. What other things have people maybe seen you in?
Gosh, you know what? I haven't even looked at my IMDb in so long. I don't remember. And for the last 2 years or 3 years, it's God has like pulled me out of acting, and so Vindication has been my only focus. So I've not pursued. I don't even have an agent right now. I don't read the emails that come through. I just kind of delete it all, and I'm waiting for him to say, okay, you can get back in. So I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I would have to go look at my own IMDb, because I live in Austin, and a lot of those bigger projects have come through, like Walker and Panic and Fear the Walking Dead, and just so many, Alita, Battle Angel, but like those aren't my cup of tea. And I'm not, what's the word? Excited. I don't get like, oh my gosh, there's a famous movie person coming to town, and I want to be on their project and get a picture with them and get their autograph, and I want to work under this director, and I want to, be a part of this big name movie because it's a big name movie. Like, I don't care. So my husband does all those, but I'm like, I don't even audition. Just like, that's great. It's here.
I didn't even know. So your husband's also in acting?
No. And he was never going to marry an actress either. But God is funny. Yeah. No, my husband's crew, actually.
Okay.
So yeah, he's been in the industry for like 25 years. And I met him on the ABC family show, The Lion Game, because he was doing that whole thing we were, hanging out for a year and a half. So yeah.
That's awesome. So God had a lot of plans with you working the stand-in for education, and also to bring you to your husband. So that's awesome how God has those double whammies out there for us if we just have our eyes open.
And it's so crazy because I was not looking. Yeah. Yes, this is your best interview. So it's thank you, Kristen. You're so awesome. You guys, you and Kevin are just amazing at what y'all do. And can I just say a shout out to Creative Motion, because I love that Kristen and Kevin, like all of us who have done independent things, like our own projects, and we all serve Jesus. We love Jesus. They have like taken all of us and put us into one Creative Motion network, and just like built a little culture of artists pursuing Jesus. And I love it. So
I love it too. I'm so thankful for them. I've got several. I've got this show and our comedy from Well-Versed Comedy is on there, and I'm just so thankful to have a platform for people to stumble upon and just see. Most importantly, that there are 1,000,001 different ways to honor God. There are 1,000,001 different ways to bring Him glory and to show our talents in a way that shows that we appreciate Him giving it to us and being good stewards of it. And I love Kevin and I love Kristen because they're very humble. They're very behind the scenes. Because I try to get them on the show, and they're like, "No, we want to highlight everybody else." So there, I broke a confidentiality to give them a plug because I really appreciate them, and maybe someday I might get them on, maybe without cameras, maybe like the witness that's in the dark room so we don't see them.
What do you mean you broke confidentiality?
I don't know if I did. I was just like,
I was like, wait, did I do that? Sorry.
No. That I'd ask them. They're like, no, we want to highlight our people and we don't want to be the center. So really appreciate them. And if you have a Roku device, download the Creative Motion Network, subscribe. It's absolutely free. And there are like 1,800 different shows and programs on there. Several people that have been on this show have projects on there. Venus is on Morning Rift, which you can find on there. I think it's like a 20-minute short film. It's excellent. You're going to check it out. You're really going to enjoy it. Maurice Brown, who I know you've been on his show as well. Mm-hmm. All of his shows are on there, and just a phenomenal list of different projects to check out. And there's so much bad out there. It's nice to have one place that no matter what you put on, you can have the kids, you can have your family, your grandma watch it, and they're going to enjoy it, and they don't have to worry about explaining to the kids what that word meant.
Yes, amen. Yeah.
And Personal Powerhouse has are all the episodes or just a handful? Are they on?
No, yeah, all the ones that are on YouTube are also on Roku.
All right, perfect. Well, Venus, the final two segments I warned you about before we went on the air. Oh wait, I don't want to get in those yet because I don't think we've dove in a Vindication season 2 yet. Enough. But you talked to Jarod before we went on the air, and Jarod O'Flaherty, the director, he said that when is the trailer expected out?
So the trailer should be coming in this summer. Now that we've got all of season 2 shot, like he can put, they can have whatever they want. So I'm super excited. Like I watched the season 1 trailer, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so good. And I've seen it. I was in it. But yeah.
So season 2 is coming out later this year. And obviously there's a lot that you can't give away, but I know that on IMDb, a lot of the titles of the episodes are given away. The titles, obviously not the plot. Mm-hmm. But what episode so far of the season 2 are you looking most forward to people seeing?
Oh gosh. Dave, this is a really hard question. One, because I'm trying to remember all the episodes we've already shot and what the content is. But like 2, because they're all so great. And they all the stories, every time I read the script, I'm just like, and I think I say this every interview, but every time I'm like, Jarod, this is so good. Like, how do y'all think of this stuff? And Alan Tregoning, he wrote some of the episodes in season 2, and they're all so great. So I have no answer for this.
Basically, I'm asking you to pick your favorite child on international programming.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, obviously I haven't seen any from season 2, but season 1, my favorite episode, I think, was Reverse Trafficked.
Yes, that's such a good one.
Because one of the things that I do is I teach improv at Salt and Light Coalition, which is for women who've survived sex trafficking. So that episode was really important to me. Oh,
that's awesome. Did they see it?
I don't know if they did or not.
I don't know that. Maybe it would minister to them, but that's like amazing.
And I love the idea of like, Lord, I'd love to be independently wealthy and do something like that. I mean, there's an argument can be made that, and I'm not trying to give away too much of the plot, but some might argue, well, you're being a bad steward of your money by giving so much away. But it's like, God would move heaven and earth to free somebody from slavery. What's a little bit of money. I think that investment is justifiable in any way.
Yeah, and I was listening to a podcast with Tim Ballard. Do you know who that is?
I've heard. Oh yeah, from Operation Underground.
Yes. And so he was talking about their deals and like how much money they sometimes have to spend in order to get someone out. And it's like, yeah, you can't put a price on a person.
No. So that is my favorite. And the casting is phenomenal for the show because, and we've talked about teased a little bit, there's always a little twist in each episode. There's like, you're going one way, and the casting for Reverse Traffic was done so well, you expect that the guy that they're playing it is who they think he is, because he's, as a guy, he's overweight, he's kind of unkempt, so you're thinking like, oh yeah, he's guilty, but season 1's been out long enough that I'm not spoiling anything, but it is definitely worth a watch. But yeah, that was my favorite episode.
Yeah,
just because it's so powerful.
Oh, I know. There's so many good ones. I love that, because I think as humans, we tend to just, like the Bible says, we look at the outward appearance and judge on that when we don't know the heart. Right. And so I love that Vindication has done that.
And Vindication, Jarod and the writing staff in season 1, they were not afraid to go there.
Right.
But they did it without any gratuitous nature to it. There was not anything that was embarrassing, but the topic was addressed. Like sexting was addressed. I think it was episode 3, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. The young girl and her boyfriend. 2. Okay. And then the potential affair when Timothy Ross's character disappears, things like that, or the disappearance and things like that. I'm just trying to, off the top of my head, just each individual episode was just, there's a level where they went there. In season 2, there's some really big names that people know from other major productions, and these have all gone public, so Jarod can't get mad at us for talking about them. But T.C. Stallings from War Room and Courageous is in season 2. Cameron Arnett from Overcomer, and Discarded Things, which is on PureFlix, starring Karen Abercrombie as well. There's some pretty big names, and she also released a video announcing it, but Ashley Bratcher's character is coming back. So Vindication is growing, because not only is it the niche of people in season 1, but you guys are bringing in all these people that we all know, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, and TC was saying this the other day. And I think he told us this when he first came on too. He was like, a lot of people, I guess, will seek him out to attach his name to their project, and he was like, I sought y'all out. I sought out Vindication because I wanted to be on that show. And I was like, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's such a good show.
I'm really excited to see he and Cameron Arnett's characters, because number one, just the picture of T.C. Stallings, he flexes hard in that still photo of him holding the gun.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
He had shared it a few times on social media, and I'm like, wow, look at all 3 guns, because he's holding it like this. And of course, for our audio listeners, I just posed to the video camera, but
yeah.
So with season 2, is it still going to be kind of the same thing where as the show goes, it's going to have the twist, or what can we expect overall from season 2?
So this is another funny one, because I'm like, what have we shot? It's been so many. I can tell you that the hard subjects are still there. And that's what amazes me, because I'm reading the script and I'm like, ooh, how are we going to go about this topic? Like, what's this going to look like? And then I get to the end and I'm like, it's done so well. So well. So there are some very hard topics discussed and hit on in these episodes too. So as far as the twist, there's a twist all the time.
That's what we like to hear.
Oh yeah.
So again, be sure to follow Vindication at Vindication Film on Facebook, or our vindicationseries.com. It's going to be a phenomenal second season. Really excited to see all the different characters, all the new faces, and also the returning faces. Detective Chris, I wonder, and I don't know if this was addressed, but I wonder if there's any remaining issues from the kidnapping that your character went through. Will we see anything regarding that? I only pose that completely ignorantly, but I know you can't tip your hand on that at all.
I can't.
But I'm really excited to see it, and I'm really excited to see more Christian faith-based programs that they don't wave the Bible in your face in some condescending way. It's real. There's grit, there's life to it, and it's just inspirational knowing that life can happen, but we can also still live in a way that brings us closer to God. Really looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
So we will now move to, I almost went too early, but we're going to go to our final two segments. Thanks to everyone hanging out with us. Our first segment is called The Interrogation. 7 random questions that wouldn't have otherwise fit in the interview. So just shoot from the hip, which is a good thing for a detective to be able to do, to shoot from the hip. But here is the interrogation. So our first question is, what do you love most about Texas?
Oh, that's very hard, but hardworking country folk and people unafraid of guns. Those are the first two that come to my head. I'm sure there's a lot more I love about Texas, but those two come to my head. Like when I have kids, my husband's amazing. And so as parents, that's going to be great. But I also want to send my kids to someone I know who owns a farm, and my kid has to get up at 4 or 5 a.m. and go help them on the farm and learn hard work and all that stuff. So that's my rapid fire answer.
Perfect. Question number 2. What's the worst advice you've ever been given?
Good question. I'll have to think about this one because nothing comes up. What's the worst advice you've ever been given?
Go ahead, get married. I say that because before I pursued Christ, I was married before my current marriage. But I had a failed marriage before, and yeah, go ahead and getting married the first time was bad advice. But then that was the broken road that led me to my current wife. So maybe it wasn't so bad in the long run. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah.
Glad it turned out well.
Yeah. All right, maybe we'll come back to that one while you think and let it simmer. Okay. Question number 3. Who are you most excited to meet on set, whether it's Vindication or any other set that you've worked on?
So you know how I was saying earlier that I don't care about names and directors and I don't have anyone. I think a lot of people are really nice and great and friendly, but I wasn't I can't wait to meet so-and-so. I don't know. I don't have anyone.
Fair enough. Question number 4 is, what brings you joy?
Oh, people. I am an extrovert. I'm a social butterfly. So when I get to be around happy people, I'm so thrilled. It fills my cup. And I mean, I recharge alone, but people fill me up. And puppies bring me joy. And then sometimes just sitting outside watching bugs, just in the quiet, just being curious about bugs. I don't know. Just fills my cup too.
Question number 5. Is there something that you wish you could do over?
Yes. I would go to if I knew anything about my education and what I could become and what I could do, I would totally do that over. I would find a counselor who could tell me, hey, you can be this whole list of all these careers and check them out. And you might be interested in dermatology or I would totally redo. I mean, I loved college and I had fun and, all of that. But I went for a period of time, I went to a different college, and the teachers at this college, the professors, it was another level. I felt at this first college that I wasn't learning well. I wasn't, I don't know, just wasn't catching on to things. And then I went to this other college that was a step up or a couple of steps up. And I was like, it's not me. It's when you have a good teacher, you can learn so much. And so not only for the teachers would I have been more intentional about college, but also for my own future and career, I would have, been more intentional there too. So yeah.
Question number 6. What is a quirk or habit that you have that your husband teases you about?
Well, he thinks I'm crazy about a lot of things. He teases me about my beak. He says like my like a little bump right there is like a beak. So he calls it a beak. And then I don't know, like I was using a cape this morning. I don't really know. He teases me about a lot.
All right, final question of the interrogation. What's a role or a character that you'd love to take on?
Okay, pretty much Vindication is the one role that I would have, if I never got to be in this role, I would have been like, oh, I wish I could have had a role where I was like the detective and got to carry a gun and got to like do choreography and got to like, this is the role that I would have wanted.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And then also I would say, because I wanted to do something difficult, something deep and difficult where there's like a hurt, a pain, just kind of like telling a really hard story. So if not Vindication, if not this role, then another role where it would be like a sex trafficking role or something where the character has really, really had a difficult time and has to process that and tell that story of someone. So yeah, that's probably one I'd love to take on eventually.
Right. So there was one question we kind of skipped, the advice question. Anything pop to mind about any bad advice?
Worst advice I've ever been given. I don't know. I think I don't want to say this is bad advice because to some people it's good, but like I've been pressured, I guess, to get a credit card and build your credit score, and I'm like, I don't like debt. I don't want debt. And as much as like the society says debt is a good thing and you can build your credit score, to me, I'm just like, if I can pay cash, I'd rather just pay cash. So to me, that's not bad advice necessarily. It's just unnecessary advice, and I don't want to follow it.
Actually, very good advice. The less debt you have, other than mortgaging a home, which is you're building value, but just out and out debt, to go out to the movies or to buy gas for whatever, it's a bad idea because you don't know what the future holds, and you can't guarantee that you'll have the job to pay that debt off.
That's true. That is true.
All right. So the final question that we ask every guest as we wrap up is, for anyone that's looking to step up and use their gifts for God's glory, whether it's in acting or educating or advocating, what is your wise counsel for them?
Well, I would, don't feel pressured by society and marketing and advertising. They all do such a good job of trying to get you to want more and do things different and compromise. Don't be pressured into that. But also, specifically to actors, I have found that so many actors, for whatever reason, feel like because they're an actor, they have to be willing to do anything and everything, or they shouldn't be an actor. But I want actors to realize that you can say no, you can have boundaries, you can have morals, you can say no to a project, you can decide you don't want to be on it after you've read the entire script and you're not comfortable. You can walk out of class, like you can tell the acting coach, like, hey, this scene isn't for me, it's not my cup of tea. I want actors who have morals and like have these boundaries to feel more empowered to stand up for themselves. Because it breaks my heart when I hear of actors who did something that they felt pressured to do. And I'm like, no, dude, you don't have to. I've been like kicked off the set for not doing stuff. And like, I actually love that story because then God redeemed me, because I was a stand-in on another thing with Jennifer Garner or whatever. And I had to straddle some guy for that's what they were rehearsing. But then when it came time for my stand-in part for them to do the lighting, I was like, I'm not going to straddle this dude. I don't know this guy. That's not me. And so it created a little conflict on set, and this was a bigger project. And so my agent called and like eventually after a few hours, they were like, okay, well, if you're not willing to do certain things, they're going to have someone come in that they know will do it. And I was like, cool, fine. That's great. And then the next day my agent called and she was like, hey, production wants you back on set. Like, thank you, Jesus. So it's just like, I want actors to know you don't have to compromise and you don't have to feel pressured into doing stuff. So that's my advice. Perfect.
And to add on that, I think that there is incredible value in doing that, because you may not be the only one, and you taking the stand will free somebody else to also take that stand. Yeah, it's so true. I feel like it's like that little meme or whatever. You see one person stand up, and then there's the guy whipping them, and then like 5 people stand up, and the guy's whipping, and then like the whole crowd stands up, and it's like, come on, crowd, let's all stand up. Yeah. Yeah. The prophet Bubba Sparks said, "Hey, they can't arrest us all." Exactly. Yeah. I'm dating myself because that song is so old. But that is a good word. Don't be afraid to stand up, because if you stand up and it costs you work, then the work wasn't worth it. Amen. Yep. And God will redeem it. He's the ultimate booking agent. He can open doors that nobody else can. So trust your instincts, and it's perfectly okay to trust your instincts. Whether it's in acting, whether it's in secular or normal everyday work. If your boss asks you to do something you're not comfortable with, stand up and say no. If it costs you your job, trust God to take care of it. So that's good word. So Venus, it's been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for being on and sharing your story. Really, really looking forward to Vindication season 2, season 3, season 8, however far Jared's willing to take it. So thank you again for coming on. I hope it wasn't too hard. Hope I wasn't too hard on you with the interrogation. No, I loved it. I loved all of it. And it's actually nice. This was an hour interview, because most are like real quick 30 minutes. So this is really great. So thank you. Absolutely. We've got another interview next week for those that want to tune in. We have Tyler Sansom from Father's Fight. He's going to be our guest next week to talk about a father's fight and his journey. But until next week, whether you're live here on Facebook or you're watching on Creative Motion Network, again, a shout out to the Collier family. Thank you so much for giving us this platform. We will see you next week. Have a blessed rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.